Coming up on Valley View News, Steve Bannon surrenders to the FBI. Plus, a memorial in Thousand Oaks honors victims of the borderline shooting. And in-person theater productions resume on campus.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Mary Peronian.
And I'm Elizabeth Medina in the Digital Media Center.
Former Trump strategist Steve Bannon turned himself into the FBI after being indicted for contempt of Congress.
I want you guys to stay focused, stay on message. Remember, signal, not noise. This is all noise, that's signal. Thank you very much.
Are you optimistic today?
The 67-year-old failed to comply with investigations surrounding the January 6th Capitol attack. He was charged with 2 counts, one for missing a deposition and another for declining to surrender documents. But this indictment set a precedent. Bannon is the first person to be charged for contempt of Congress despite citing executive privilege. He could face a year in jail and be fined up to $100,000 if declared guilty. In a statement, Attorney General Merrick Garland said the Justice Department sought to pursue equal justice under the law.
Closing statements for the trial of Kenosha gunman Kyle Rittenhouse took place Monday. The 17-year-old was charged with killing 2 men as well as injuring another during a protest last year. He was also charged with a misdemeanor for possessing a dangerous weapon. Thomas Binger, the prosecutor, highlighted that the defendant lied about being a certified EMT. Rittenhouse also lied about being threatened with a gun. The 2 individuals killed by the defendant were Anthony Huber and Joseph Rosenbaum. A third person by the name of Gage Grosskreutz was shot by Rittenhouse but survived. Grosskreutz testified against Rittenhouse last week.
Nearly 200 nations struck a deal to fight climate change in this COP26 summit in Glasgow. But after 2 weeks of meetings, some activists and leaders were disappointed by some pledges. India and China's last-minute stance on coal, the biggest offender of greenhouse gas emissions, took attendees by surprise. Both countries opposed language that committed to phasing out of the use of coal in favor of phasing it down. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the collective action plan fell short.
The outcome of COP26 is a compromise. It reflects the interests, the contradictions, and the state of political will in the world today. It is an important step, but it's not enough.
Countries will convene next year in Egypt to measure progress and set future goals.
A federal appeals court affirmed a prior ruling to halt President Biden's vaccine ordinance for large corporations. The action rejects the Justice Department's request to lift the freeze. A judge panel said the mandate was fatally flawed. OSHA had issued the vaccine regulation earlier this month with the deadline set for January 4th. Businesses with 100 or more employees were ordered to ensure all personnel were inoculated. Responding to the ruling, the Justice Department said the decision would likely cost dozens or even hundreds of lives per day.
Victims of the Borderline bar tragedy were remembered and honored on the 3rd anniversary of the shooting. Valley View's Margot Rowe was there.
3 years ago, tragedy struck the Borderline bar community after a mass shooting killed 12 people at the bar. Carl Edgar, who is a regular at the Borderline bar, attended this commemorative event to show support for the community.
I am here because I have gone to Borderline since 2016, and I lost a few friends there at the shooting, and I am just here to support everyone who was there.
Many remember where they were that night of the shooting. Eric Mejia and his friends were regulars at the Borderline bar. The night of the tragedy happened to be the one time they chose not to go.
I was supposed to go to the bar, and we had gone very consistently, and it was one of those off nights.
However, many smiles were seen today. Sarah Reeves believes line dancing is the best way for the community to heal and remember the victims.
I think it's a great way to honor everyone by doing what they love to do as well.
All the proceeds from today's event will go to the Borderline Strong Foundation to support victims' families and survivors. Reporting from Thousand Oaks for Valley View News, I'm Margot Rowe.
President Biden signed a $1 trillion infrastructure bill on Monday. Business leaders and politicians from both parties gathered in a ceremony for the signing. The mandate was promised during Biden's 2020 campaign to create millions of jobs. Advocates agree that the law is an important step to make changes in the nation's ports, rails, pipes, power lines, and more. Former New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu was named senior advisor. He will be coordinating the implementation of infrastructure spending and overseeing the investments. CSUN students had comments to share about their opinions of the new bills.
Biden signing a bill to rebuild infrastructure and or upgrade it because I feel everyone will benefit from it, and it's for a good cause.
But it is going to impact, I guess, the economy too, because for anything that the government spends, like I know like the citizens have to pay kind of like out of their pocket, whether it's like taxes or anything else. But I mean, I think it's good. I mean, it's definitely like attention that's being brought to as far as like infrastructure that was long overdue.
Independent experts say the law will boost economic competitiveness.
Joe Biden's $1 trillion social spending bill would provide aid to local news. The move could be historic. It would signify the first time the federal government responds to the decline of media outlets. Assistance would arrive as a payroll tax credit for organizations that staff local journalists. The law would allow eligible companies to claim a tax credit of $25,000 the initial year and $15,000 the next 4 years for up to 1,500 employees. According to the University of North Carolina, half of the local journalism jobs have disappeared in the past 15 years. The measure aims to fill a gap left in communities without access to crucial information.
A motion for a mistrial was rejected by Georgia Judge Timothy Walmsley for the Ahmaud Arbery trial. Prominent civil rights activist Jesse Jackson joined the courtroom in support of the Arbery family. Ahmaud was gunned down by 3 white men in the spring of 2020. Kevin Goff, the defense attorney who requested the mistrial, stated that the atmosphere was unfair to have a civil rights activist present. Earlier, he also asked to have Jackson fully removed from the courtroom, which was also denied by the judge. Goff made controversial statements in the past, stating that black pastors shouldn't be present for the trial. He has since apologized.
A 25-hour protest took place outside the home of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. The group called Shut Down DC said they organized the rally to spotlight legislation filibustered by Republicans. Performers used the streets as their stage. Passionate speakers stood in front of the podium only a few feet from McConnell's front door.
There should be citizenship for all. Every family should have food on their table. There should not be food deserts in the nation capital.
The event was also scheduled to symbolically rival the longest filibuster in history, which lasted 24 hours and 18 minutes in 1957.
The Oklahoma National Guard is defying a federal COVID-19 ordinance. In a memo, Brigadier General Thomas Mancino said he wouldn't order the state's 10,000 members to get vaccinated. The Department of Defense set a mandate in August requiring all military personnel to receive immunizations. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt, an opponent of vaccines, appointed Mancino to head the National Guard last week. Mancino replaced Major General Michael Thompson, who endorses COVID-19 shots. Thompson said he was asked to resign before his sudden discharge and believed his dismissal was politically charged.
New legislation seeks to provide GI Bill benefits to descendants of Black World War II veterans. The GI Bill Restoration Act would grant eligible individuals access to the VA Loan Guarantee Program, which aids with home purchasing. It would also include financial educational assistance. Introduced in 1944, the GI Bill historically excluded Black veterans from receiving complete benefits. In a statement, Senator Raphael Warnock said the legislation was a major step towards repairing economic harms. If enacted, the bill would establish a panel as well to study inequities faced by minority members of the U.S. military.
Los Angeles County has seen its first flu-related death of the 2021-2022 flu season as of last week. The victim was said to be middle-aged with underlying health issues and also did not have their flu shot. The patient reportedly tested negative for COVID several times while they were ill. LA County had a reduced amount of flu cases last year, attributed to the steps that were taken to control the spread of COVID. Although flu cases are still low, the county reports the numbers have been rising again in the last few weeks.
The Latino community has been hard hit by COVID-19. Valley View's Diane Zermenio went to Arleta to ask residents how they feel about the CDC's recent authorization of vaccines for children.
Latinos have made up about half of all of California's COVID-19 cases during this pandemic, yet vaccinating the Latino community has been a struggle. Stay-at-home mom Yolanda Vargas Cardenas said she wanted to vaccinate her children as soon as possible.
And I was just hesitating, kind of wait, because I wanted to take it with my children, kind of a support thing as a family group, so they would be not scared.
Vaccinations are done at the Arleta Family Clinic in the San Fernando Valley. The clinic's physician assistant, Alexander Van Stein, says the COVID-19 virus impacts the Latino community differently. For instance, many Latinos live in multi-generational households.
With a really sticky virus that's airborne indoors, like coronavirus SARS-CoV-2 is, once it's in the house, that's it.
But some parents don't believe the COVID-19 vaccine is necessary for children.
I think their immune system is a lot stronger than an adult. So,
even though Latinos make up 40% of the state population, only 30% are partially vaccinated at this time. Appointments for a COVID-19 vaccine can be made online through the LA County Department of Public Health. Proof of insurance or immigration status is not required to get a vaccine. Reporting for Valley View News, I'm Diane Cermeño.
More to come on Valley View News. A local designer celebrates her Armenian heritage, and the FDA recalls millions of at-home COVID-19 test kits. We'll be right back.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know wherever you are.
We're going to check back with Margot Rowe in Studio B for some international news. Margot?
Mary, at least 68 prisoners died in the gang-related fights at an Ecuadorian prison. In September, more than 100 inmates died in clashes between rival gangs. The latest violence took place at a littoral penitentiary in the city of Guayaquil. Police tactical units found guns, explosives, and blades in the prison cells. Officials say they have regained control of the prison. Nearly 300 inmates have died so far this year from violence in the country's prisons.
Una vez que llegamos a la penitenciaría, siguiendo las instrucciones, Presidencia, Ministerio de Gobierno.
Once we arrived at the prison, following the government instructions, we were able to understand what was happening. The crossfire was intense and happening closely to the front doors of the prison.
That's Ecuador's Secretary General of Communications, Pablo Arosamaya. He also said the government is working to bring justice to the families affected by the killings. Austria is now imposing lockdown measures on people over age 12 who aren't vaccinated. Chancellor Alexander Schallenberg announced the news early this week. Unvaccinated people must stay home with a few exceptions. The mandate will be enforced by police officers. Around 65% of Austrians are fully vaccinated against COVID-19. That's one of the lowest rates in the European Union, where cases are now spiking. For the second week in a row, Europe is the only part of the world where COVID cases and deaths rose in the weekly global report from the World Health Organization. Central Europe is being hit hard by the virus. The Netherlands implemented a 3-week partial lockdown. Norway also started new safety measures. Germany is cracking down on where unvaccinated people can go. A new Portuguese law prevents companies from contacting their employees outside of work hours. It's meant to protect the privacy of workers during family and rest time. If broken, employers could be fined. The rule coincides with the increasing number of people working remotely from home. The law also requires people working at home to be reimbursed for some expenses such as gas and electricity. Employees must also be given the technology tools needed in order for them to do their jobs remotely. Thousands of migrants are trying to illegally cross into Poland from Belarus. NATO Secretary Jens Stoltenberg says the alliance is aware of the situation.
We, of course, are deeply concerned about the situation, and we follow that very closely.
Included are 200 children and 600 women who are stuck at the Belarus-Poland border. Winter is around the corner and large groups of families are waiting without shelter, hoping to cross into Poland. Some have been waiting for weeks. A few people have died from the cold. Polish border police are patrolling the area where the migrants are camped. A razor-wired fence was installed to keep migrants out of Poland. In the meantime, the Belarusian Red Cross is delivering water and food to the migrants. That's all for international news. I'm Margot Rowe. Back to you, Elizabeth, in the newsroom.
Ripsmay McCurchin is trying to grow her business while hopefully changing people's lives through her fashion. Valley View's Catherine Hernandez visited her.
Armenian designer Ripsmay McCurchin began with a dream of starting her own clothing brand at 17. Now, at just 20 years old, she has opened her first boutique in the Valley called Ripsky by HM. She says the designs represent her style and her home country Armenia through her designs.
My mom has really been my inspiration. It was always her dream to become a fashion designer, and now I'm fulfilling those dreams.
Fashion isn't the only thing Ripsmay is passionate about. She launched the Armenia collection, raising $11,000. The proceeds were donated to the Armenian-Azerbaijan war victims and to the families who lost their loved ones in the war.
And I also had a pop-up where I sold my custom denim jackets. I sat there and I painted. That's where my mind was out, helping my country.
With custom pieces that are crafted with love, Ripsmay is helping her community through fashion. She says the Armenia collection took many months to get a hold of, but it was worth the wait due to its quality.
You come to me to find high quality clothing that it's gonna last you, it's timeless, and it's different.
With Ripsky by HM offering a high-end retail luxury experience, she plans to take the brand to new heights. Reporting for Valley View News, I'm Catherine Hernandez.
Many school districts nationwide are enforcing their mask mandates.
Uncomfortable, but it's for safety. If I wear my mask, that means I get to see my friends. I'll just wear a mask.
The mandates come as nearly 1 million children ages 5 to 11 received their first COVID shots. More than 700,000 more students will get shots in the coming weeks. Some children's hospitals set up family-friendly events with stuffed animals, colorful band-aids, and fun costumes to help ease children's nerves. Community clinics and hospitals say they want getting a shot to be a comfortable experience. Federal health officials are trying to avoid another COVID surge like what's happening in Europe right now.
Another part of President Biden's $1 trillion infrastructure bill involves car makers upgrading the technology in their cars to stop drunk driving. The technology will determine whether a driver is impaired or not, and then prevent or limit them from using the vehicle. This is expected to reduce the amount of drunk driving-related deaths. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says 1/3 of all traffic collisions involve drunk drivers. They reported that more than 10,000 people died every year this decade due to drunk driving. The new technology could be available in cars as soon as 2026.
FDA recalled more than 2 million COVID-19 Elum tests last Friday. The test reportedly risks giving a false positive result because of a manufacturing glitch. The FDA says that it's a Class 1 recall, the most serious. They warn using these tests could result in significant health consequences. So far, the FDA received 35 reports of false positive results. No deaths have been documented. Meanwhile, Elum executives say they're working to solve the problem. Other corrective efforts are also being looked at by the FDA.
Labor Department figures show that Americans are quitting their jobs in record numbers. A staggering 4.4 million people resigned jobs as of September. That's a 3% quit rate, an all-time high. This mass resignation is being coined the Great Resignation. 10.4 million positions remain open at companies nationwide.
A supply shortage is hitting tech shoppers across the world. A global chip shortage is making it harder for shoppers to get their hands on some of the most sought-after gadgets this holiday season. Some of Apple's biggest new products, including some iPhone 13 models, will experience delays well into December. Google Pixel 6 Pro devices and Nintendo products are showing late January shipment dates for orders. Gaming consoles such as Xbox and PS5 are nearly impossible to find. Most, but not all of the delays stem from COVID-related production challenges. Low supplies mean customers will have to look at some new choices. They'll have to accept possibly living without some favorite products.
The LA City Council passed an ordinance requiring people to show proof of vaccination before entering certain businesses. Valley View's Jeannie Rodriguez reports on how one gym's dealing with the ordinance.
Los Angeles County's vaccine mandate is now in effect. It requires proof of vaccination to enter certain indoor places like gyms and fitness venues. Fitness 19 in Chatsworth started asking their members for proof of vaccination this week. Manager Sean Barton says the gym is doing what it can to keep members safe.
And they were doing mass checks every 10 to 15 minutes. We have announcements as well, just to make sure everyone's kept up to date.
Assistant Manager Quinn Aveen says another option for members is to take weekly COVID tests to show compliance. Aveen says for those who refuse, there are consequences.
They will not be able to work out in the gym until they do one of those two things.
Unguf Bogle says the mandates help keep businesses and their workers safe, but shouldn't be a requirement to get in.
Give people a peace of mind that people are vaccinated, and if that's what helps people to leave their homes and to live their normal lives again, then I'm all for it.
Safe Pass LA is the name of the new rule that will require people to show proof of vaccination at various businesses like Fitness 19. While this new policy is in place today, it won't start being enforced until November 29th. Jeannie Rodriguez, Valley View News.
When we come back, the tragedy at Travis Scott's festival claims its youngest victim. Also, Britney Spears is finally free from her conservatorship. We'll have more. Stay with us.
So there you are, shuffling through a stack of resumes and you come to mine. This is it. First impression. My way in. But can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Like that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or being the first one to always step up. No, that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent that is dedicated, hardworking, and determined like me.
A 9-year-old boy became the 10th and youngest victim to die from injuries suffered at the Astroworld Festival. On November 9th, Ezra Blunt was placed in a medically induced coma. On Sunday, Houston's Mayor Sylvester Turner confirmed his death. The boy's family said he and his father got separated as the crowd of thousands pressed in. Ezra Blunt was later found unconscious.
Adele showcased a 2-hour broadcast special this week. She sang a selection of her top hits to promote her new album. She was also interviewed by Oprah Winfrey about her personal life and her music. The performance was Sunday at Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles. Big-named A-listers like Tyler Perry, James Corden, and Lizzo were in the audience. The 2-hour special is available on streaming services.
Sesame Street's newest Muppet is Asian American. 7-year-old Ji Young made history by being the first Korean American voiceover in the popular children's educational show. The character was introduced after a national wave of anti-Asian sentiments. Young will be introduced in a Sesame Street special on Thanksgiving Day. The show will be streamed on HBO and local PBS stations.
After 13 years of living under a conservatorship, 39-year-old pop star Britney Spears is now free to make her own personal and financial decisions. Spears' attorney spoke to her fans.
And as of today, effective immediately, the conservatorship has been terminated as to both the person and the estate.
The conservatorship, which was once controlled by her father, was ordered terminated by a judge last Friday. Spears celebrated on social media and thanked her fans for their support. Her request for termination was filed last month after her father, James Spears, was suspended as conservator. Another hearing in January will finalize other pending financial terms.
Kristen Hernandez, a mother of one, started a group called Trail Mothers to clean up trash on trails around LA. It all began after Hernandez saw so much trash on the trails where she walked with her son. Other mothers walking the trail started joining her in the cleanup 4 years ago. Hernandez says she often saw face masks hanging from trees and trash hidden in bushes. This year, the group became an official nonprofit organization.
The Immersive Van Gogh exhibit in Los Angeles remains popular despite the pandemic and new vaccine mandate rules. Valley View's Alexia Mersola explains.
Art lovers rejoice. The Immersive Van Gogh experience in West Hollywood brings together exciting visuals and a beautiful playlist. Also, there's about 50,000 cubic feet of projection. New COVID mandates require visitors to show their vaccination cards and identification at the door. Also, they must show proof of a negative COVID test taken within 72 hours before the event. But visitors didn't seem to be fazed by the requirement. In fact, many, like Maya Nazir, appeared to like it.
It made me feel really comfortable going in there, and even though we were all masked up, it was great to know that everyone, was vaccinated inside.
Madeline Barn is comfortable too.
No, I like getting checked to make sure everything works.
Besides an issue with the tickets, Barnes said the exhibit was great, and her friend Hannah Valencia also supports the strict entrance rules.
I would agree. I also felt a lot more secure and safe knowing that they're taking it serious.
The immersive experience will be in town until early next year, and the exhibit says they will continue to follow all mandates to keep visitors and staff safe. Reporting for Valley View News, I'm Alexia Mersola.
Marvel's film The Eternals is leading the box office. It kicked Clifford the Big Red Dog into second place for the week. Eternals ticket sales did drop 61% from its opening weekend. In its second week, Eternals earned nearly $28 million at the box office. The movie has earned more than $118 million since it debuted.
The CSUN Theater Department will be showing its first in-person theatrical show since the pandemic shut them down. Our reporter Cynthia Puga has details.
Virtual theatrical shows have become the new normal since the pandemic began. And for the first time in almost 2 years, CSUN students will be performing Everybody, their first theatrical show with a live audience since the shutdown. Carl Jugalian says he prefers performing live compared to acting through Zoom.
Like, you're in a room with a person, you're in a space with them, you feel their energy and you feel their vibes, and like that overall is just better for me as an actor.
All guests attending the performance are required to wear their masks. The play's director, Larry Biederman, says the audience seating will be spaced out as well.
Well, first of all, audience has to either be vaccinated, provide proof of vaccination, or a test within 72 hours, negative test. The actors will only be unmasked on stage. First 3 rows are empty. First 5 rows on the sides are empty.
The show will be available through November 21st at Nordhoff Hall. Tickets are free, but you must reserve them online. Reporting for Valley View News, I'm Cynthia Puga.
New inflatable characters will join the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade this year. Baby Yoda, Pikachu, and Ronald McDonald were part of the annual test parade that took place late last week. This year, Macy's expects the parade to make a full comeback compared to last year, which had many pandemic restrictions on crowd sizes. And the parade route will remain the same. The night before the parade starts, crowds can still enjoy the balloons being inflated as long as they show proof of vaccination. The parade will be televised Thanksgiving Day starting at 9 a.m.
That's all for us at Valley View News. I'm Mary Pronian.
And I'm Elizabeth Medina. For stories any time of day, go to our website, csunvalleyview.edu. Thanks for watching.